Being one of the NBA's biggest and brightest stars, Luka Doncic naturally attracts a lot of attention from fans, media, current players, and coaches. But also from former NBA stars. At just 24 years of age, Luka's yet to hit his prime, which is a scary thought, considering how much he's already accomplished. The best is yet to come from Luka, and these NBA legends are aware of it. So let's see what they have to say about the Slovenian boy wonder. Luka Doncic has been getting a lot of praise since the very second he set foot on the NBA hardwood, and rightfully so, as he's been dominating opposing defenses in ways not many other players have done it before him. The cherry on top for NBA legend Magic Johnson was when Luka hit a marvelous three-point shot at the buzzer to get the W over the Boston Celtics, Magic's biggest rivals. No wonder he praised them that much. Luka Doncic's game-winning three-pointer against the Celtics last night further proves why he's a once-in-a-lifetime player and MVP candidate. The Mavericks have one of the most explosive offenses in the league, and once the Mavericks defense catches up, they're going to be contending for NBA championships for years to come, Magic tweeted. Magic often points out the obvious with his tweets, but this one just had to be said. Luka's been phenomenal during the regular seasons, but it's in the postseason where he's doing the most damage. Although the playoff series between the Golden State Warriors and Dallas Mavericks was just his fourth playoff series in his NBA career, Luka performed at an all-time level that caught the eye of NBA great Shaquille O'Neal. Luka's a bad boy. He's been a professional since he was 16. That's 7 years. He's been playing in Europe where the fans are real rowdy. You're not going to faze him. You're not going to talk him out of his game. Shaq knows what's up. He seems to enjoy more and more of Luka's game and considers him as one of the rare players that can dominate the game as much as he did back in his day. Before the game between the Mavs and Celtics in January 2023, Luka was talking to the Inside the NBA guys. Shaq turned to Luka and asked, "Luka, Shaq here. I don't consider you a scorer. I consider you a prolific scorer. When I was a prolific scorer, I used to tell myself, I need to get 40 or I need to get 50. Do you go into the game with the same mentality, or do you let the game come to you?" To which Luka replied, "Just trying to win the game, and like you said, let the game come to you." Another player that was a killer back in his day, and now is a part of the Inside the NBA crew, Charles Barkley also had some very high regards for Luka's game. Chuck knows that he was a force to be reckoned with in the late 80s and 90s, but is also aware that Luka's on a whole other level. "I was a hell of a player, and I don't think I have ever averaged 44 points in a 6-game span. He's the MVP right now. He's dominating the game right now, and is a matter of time when the Dallas Mavericks are going to get to a level good enough to contend for a championship. But, in order to become a great player, you have to learn to play without the ball as well. He needs to pass the ball more to his teammates in order to get him and the Mavs to the next level." Luka was drafted 3rd overall in the 2018 NBA draft. Even though there are other picks that turned out to be great players like Trae Young or even DeAndre Ayton and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who have been terrific and constantly improving from year to year, Luka's easily outperformed all of them so far. And some people still can't believe he wasn't drafted 1st overall. One of those who are still shocked that Luka didn't go number 1 during the 2018 draft is NBA Hall of Famer, the logo himself, Jerry West. Luka Doncic, what was he, the 5th player in the draft? Oh my god, I can't believe that someone let him go. I can't. He was a unique kid at 15 years of age. He was competing against men in Europe. He's 15 years old. He's not competing, but excelling. The teams West was referring to are the Phoenix Suns and Sacramento Kings, who had the first 2 picks, and the Atlanta Hawks, who traded Luka for the 5th pick, Trae Young. After his playing career finished, West transitioned to an executive GM for NBA teams and is often credited for making amazing decisions that turn the teams into serious contenders. Some of them even dynasties. West was the executive who wanted the Lakers to trade for Kobe Bryant during the 1996 draft night, signed Hubie Brown as the coach of the Memphis Grizzlies, who later won the 2004 Coach of the Year award, and lastly, turned the Golden State Warriors into a dynasty in just 6 years. He's currently the executive board member and consultant for the Los Angeles Clippers. The greatest of all time, Michael Jordan is rarely the one to give praise to other players, let alone the current ones. But even he can't remain silent when it comes to Luka's talent and skill set. In a recent interview with ESPN's Jackie McMullen, Jordan talked a little bit about Luka. "I think he understands the game. He plays the game with a passion and flair that's very contagious. I think the kid has a lot of talent, and he's going to be a very good player for a long time." Michael often keeps it short and simple, just like he did with Jackie McMullen. A little further back, Jordan said basically the same stuff about Luka to Bleacher Report as he did in the ESPN interview. Luka's a phenomenal player, and at such a young age, he's demonstrating skill it takes many guys years to develop. It will be incredible to watch him continue to advance in the league. That's probably the most you'll ever get in terms of Michael Jordan compliments. Robert Horry didn't have as much success when compared to the previously mentioned players, but that still doesn't take away from his talents. A 7-time NBA champion and one of the most clutch players in NBA history, it's needless to say that Robert Horry knows talent when he sees it. On the Byron Scott podcast, Robert Horry praised Luka, comparing him to Larry Bird, and even pointing out that they have the same weakness in their games: speed. You look at Bird and said, man, I could have stopped him because he's slow. Someone like Luka now, if you watch Luka's so freaking slow and you're like, why can't they stop that? When you're crafty and you know how to play, that's all you need. Byron Scott went a step further and even said that Larry Bird was a sprinter compared to Luka. But at the end of the day, both Byron Scott and Robert Horry agreed that Luka can ball, and their harsh comments of Luka's lack of speed are almost meant as a compliment. When you think about it, it really is incredible how Luka can control the entire game at his own pace and doing it with such ease. Cedric Maxwell was a teammate of Larry Bird for 6 seasons, and the two even won 2 championships together. So when somebody like Maxwell compares Luka to Larry, it could be considered as a fact basically. You can quote me, "This is Larry Bird reincarnated." This would be Larry Bird of the 2020s, exactly how he would play now. Luka's better than Larry was at that age. The biggest thing is that there's an arrogance, a cockiness that Luka has that's directly out of the bloodstream of Larry Bird. Larry had another gear that I'm waiting to see Luka come up with, and that's the leadership role. You could tell that Maxwell really meant what he was saying. Being compared to Larry Legend is no small feat, but Luka seems to be doing good with handling the pressure. Isaiah Thomas is one of the greatest point guards in NBA history, and also one of the biggest competitors that the game of basketball has ever seen. Let's see what Isaiah said after a game between James Harden's Houston Rockets and Luka's Dallas Mavericks. That's the unique thing about Luka and Harden. Even though Harden didn't have a good game tonight, these guys are so talented and so good that they can come in out of shape and put up these kinds of numbers and play themselves into shape. When they get in shape, they're some of the best to have ever done it. But more on Luka. The difference between Magic, Luka, and Ben Simmons is that Luka's getting 25 to 26 points a night. He's a 3-point threat. Magic impacted the stat sheet a lot of different ways, but no one impacts it like Luka does from a scoring standpoint. What he's doing is off the charts and very unique for our league to see a player like this. It's obvious that Isaiah considers Luka to be more than just a playmaker, but an amazing scorer as well. Greater than Magic Johnson was back in his day. Another NBA MVP that Luka finds himself compared to is Phoenix Suns' legend, Steve Nash. Mark Cuban, the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, once described Luka as a 6'7" Steve Nash, who isn't quite the shooter Nash was, but was only a teenager. Steve Nash surprisingly remained quiet on the topic, but he never had his doubts about his qualities. He's phenomenal, just an incredible basketball player. Skill, ability, size, feel, he can do so many things on the basketball court and has such a skill set that's so great and versatile. He's an incredibly unique player, historically already at a young age. As far as his uniqueness and accuracy and ability to make plays off the dribble with his size, we just don't see that, especially at his age. The Dallas Mavericks seem to work best when they're led by a European star. Before Luka, there was Dirk Nowitzki, the 2007 NBA MVP, who led the Mavs to their first NBA championship in 2011. Dirk, being as humble as he is, found a way to gush over someone other than himself on his own jersey retirement press conference. I'd love to mentor him. He's a really sweet guy with a huge heart. On the court, he looks so mature with the way he plays and how he reads the game. And then when you catch him off the floor, you realize that this kid is only 22 years old. It's fantastic and amazing what he's doing. I had a slow start. I could kind of hide behind Steve Nash and Mike Finley there for a while, but Luka's basically been the #1 guy ever since he got there. Like every other player and human being in general, Luka has his weaknesses as well. One of them is his lack of stamina to finish games with the same intensity as in the beginning. Indiana Pacers legend Reggie Miller pointed that out. To me, looking at him, this is the heaviest I've probably ever seen Luka look right now. And I know he's had a long year with the Olympics, but look how he's plodding up and down. He's not really running. You have the keys to the kingdom if you're Doncic, right? And he's a superstar in the making already. But he could be so much better. And he will get better. But to me, he's got to trim down, he really does. And he's got to get better defensively as well. Of course, Miller didn't mean to offend Luka, but to encourage him to get better in that aspect. Luka didn't seem upset with it, however, yet acknowledged that as well. "I know I have to get better," said Luka. "We know you will, Luka." Despite Reggie Miller's comments being a little more critical than the others, the opinions still remain unanimous. Luka's an all-time talent, and we're lucky enough to watch him do historic stuff night in and night out. As we get to see him do something amazing almost every night, it can easily be forgotten that Luka's only 24 years old and yet to hit his prime. Let's make sure to enjoy him as much as we can.